Hello, everyone. So we're here today. Got a special guest. I'm joined. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Patty Nest. Obviously, everyone's clearly heard of me, definitely, and I'm not at all making myself sound cooler than I am.
One of the coolest people on Twitter. So
Oh,
take that for what it's
thank you.
worth.
Thank you. It's
And
really nice to be here.
I know I'm so excited. We don't have to talk in like the comments of it, like in Twitter comments. We can talk like
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy. So
It's insane.
how are you doing? First of all,
I'm doing pretty good, just had a very interesting experience with D23 and uh, all the reveals, stuff that we were able to see and stuff that we weren't able to see. What about you?
I just came back from Knives Out like morning, so
Oh, nice. How was that?
It was awesome. I loved it so much. It was so good.
Nice.
The few benefits of living in Toronto is tip. That's it. Outside of that, it's kind of sad because everything's in the U.S. But yeah, I want to kind of just agree with everything that you've said on Twitter and you've said now about D23.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, come on. In this day and age, the fact that they're like, I don't have a problem. Like, I don't think most people have a problem getting tickets. The problem is you have to actually go to the place.
Yeah, and that's sort of been like one of the biggest problems for me whenever it comes to all of these conventions and stuff is like the problem isn't affording tickets. I mean, sometimes it is when it comes to like having to buy them when like the internet is like bombarded with people just rushing to buy them and sometimes you never have a chance to. But even if you can, going there is a much bigger hassle because you have to pay for travel, you have to pay for if you travel far away enough, you have to pay for a hotel, you have to pay for all the extra stuff, whether it's gas or renting a car or just anything.
Also, take time out of your day from like if you work or school or whatever to go, and so that's another
exactly. And having to plan that stuff, not knowing if you're actually able to go or not is worse, especially like in this day and age when like your people are always busy and it's like having to constantly work and stuff is such a hassle. So like having stuff like Comic-Con D23 is nice, but it's like sometimes you're unsure if you have the right moment to go. So I think having like digital tickets, just like obviously you can't be there, but just watching the stream from home, not being able to obviously interact with the creators, directors, and people there, but at least being able to watch and at least be a part of the experience without being able to be there, because a lot of people who want to go can't. And I think having the ability to go without having to actually physically go is great, because people that can't afford to travel get to at the very least be a part of this experience, and those that are in charge of the conventions and stuff like Disney or whatever can still get money from it because we're still paying, we're just not going.
You also get a wider base of people who are willing to pay, right? Like, because that's the other thing, you lose, and not only people who are willing to pay to go to the like for the tickets, but think about it, like especially for Comic-Cons, all Comic-Cons have a secondary purpose, and that purpose is to let creators be able to sell their stuff, right?
Oh, exactly.
And if you do, like, think about it, like imagine for the creators, if you could purchase tickets and then you could go and you could go through a website and you could buy stuff from them online. Like that would open up a huge market that they may not get if you don't go in person.
It would offer so much more money to be made without the struggle of trying to force people to come. Like, obviously, if people want to go, they'll go.
Inherent benefit too to going like in person. Like if you can, it's not like it's not like you're discouraging people to
Oh, exactly.
not go.
Like being able to go in person, you still have the chance to actually physically interact with the people there and get to have like hands-on first experience
It's an
with these
experience just to
things.
be in like even you look at like let's say the Marvel panel, the Hall H panel at San Diego Comic Con, right?
Yeah.
Like being in the room different than being online, right?
Oh, yes.
So there is still
100%.
you're not like discouraging people. Like even if this was an option, I still would want to go to the convention, at some point to
Of
experience
course.
that. Like
Like
I've only been
if
to New York just because distance and stuff, but
if I had the ability to travel there and go to like somewhere like D23 or Comic-Con, whether it's San Diego or New York, of course I'd go. It's just, with work, money, and just time, it's just a constant pain. So, like, obviously, whether they do it or not is up to them. It's a will they, won't they kind of hypothetical scenario. I would love if future conventions and stuff would have these digital tickets for those that unfortunately don't have the ability and affordability to go. That way, they at least get to be a part of it, and the people in charge get to still make money.
But you know who could have been a trailblazer for this if they weren't like led by a bunch of incompetent idiots?
What?
DC. DC could have done this. DC could have been the trailblazer for online conventions, but alas, they are run by a bunch of idiots. So
It's Disney and DC. All of them are run by people who are 60-year-old white dudes in suits who just don't fully understand.
But
Like
DC had this set up with the DC
fandom.
Yeah, like they had
Fandom
this.
was really good because like obviously it was like all streamlined and like everyone could watch and be a part of it without actually having to go there. I think the first one, I don't remember if the first one was also physical and digital.
No, first one was during COVID, so it was.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so then yeah, like obviously with the COVID and stuff, they had to do it digital, but it worked out very well. At least the first one did. Second one, I don't think worked out too well, but I think
They ran out of stuff to announce, right?
Yes,
that's the problem.
I think the second fandom just failed to have enough reveals and stuff, but the digital aspect of it, people being able to watch from home, I think there's a lot to be made from that in terms of money and views and just hype in general. Like imagine like I counted from what I remember when it came to the Marvel panel, I'm pretty sure out of all like the 8 or the 9 or 10 things there, I think 8 things in total had like trailers and footage. And the only projects there that were actually shown to the internet and the public were like 2 of them, Secret Invasion and Werewolf by Night. Everything else, Ant-Man, Quantumania, the Marvels, Ironheart, Echo, all those other things had footage that was exclusive to them. Just think of how much bigger.
Loki had footage too.
Yes, and Loki season 2. Imagine how much more hype, in my opinion, would have generated if everyone could see it. In my honest opinion, it would expand from not just that day to like the next day and the next day after. Obviously, this stuff is going to get hype and press and trend regardless because it's Marvel. Like
stuff's also, gonna get leaked. It's gonna get leaked. Like all
that
this,
too.
Like I know that I guarantee you, if we talk to someone at Disney right now, what they would tell you is this: they'd say, "Yeah, it's great, but it's so much easier to leak all this stuff if it's if you could watch it on your own device." And so then you lose then there's no reason to pay for a ticket when you're just going to see all the exclusive footage online for free.
Yeah, it's the only thing that I will have to say I guess in a way to say in a defense of not digital is people can just live stream them watching digitally and stuff. But then it's like you're sort of in the same boat as people would just leak it if it wasn't digital. It's like either way it's going to get leaked.
But it's
at
so
the very
it is so much harder just because they do have like in those actual rooms they have ways to make sure people aren't using their phones.
yeah.
There's been times where they collected phones. There's time where they have the security guys with the goggles who are like can see if you're using your phone.
Yeah, it's just in my personal opinion, I think it would not only make them a lot more money, it would generate a lot more hype if they had digital tickets. But
Oh no, I completely agree with that. I think.
but it's a will they won't they kind of thing. It's just my personal opinion. It's is what it is. It stinks that some people are stuck in a unfortunately cannot afford kind of thing, whether it's go or tickets, but is what it is. Maybe one day Disney and everyone else will notice that and be like, hey, maybe we can do something. Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
But nothing much you can do about it now except, point it out.
Yeah. I mean, or there is the other option, which is expanded a little bit more to like, maybe where the conventions are being held, right? If you expand where the conventions are being held a little more, instead of them all literally being the farthest point away from everybody, which is, California.
Yeah.
Like if you expand that, maybe then that can change. Then you change who can go, right? And
Yeah.
so maybe because like if San Diego and D23 are both in the same spot, so well not same spot, but like same being far
I
away
get
from
you.
everybody.
Yeah, I get you.
But we did see some stuff, so let's start
Oh,
with the stuff
yeah,
we saw.
We saw something.
So do you want to start Star Wars, or do you want to do Marvel, or what do you want? How do you want to do this?
I think we should get Star Wars out of the way first because comparing like comparable between like the Star Wars and Marvel stuff, whether it's like Marvel movies, shows, and even games, quote unquote. I think Star Wars is the best place to start because like
It was the best stuff, honestly.
It definitely had some really cool things. One of my favorite reveals, I think, was the trailer for Tales of the Jedi. That was phenomenal. So fun fact, when Clone Wars first came out, I was a little put off by the animation. And as the show went on, it sort of grew on me. And now whenever I see like a Star Wars show with that kind of like interesting animation, I just get immediately hyped up because it just reminds me of like all the really cool stuff that they were able to do with the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch. So, and like this trailer, seeing what looks like to be the origin of Ahsoka and Count Dooku is phenomenal. Like all of it, it looks so captivating and interesting. I'm so excited to see what they do with that.
You know which animation style I want to bring back? I know they probably won't ever do it, but the original, like, you remember the original Clone Wars series?
I loved that show way back in the day. I'm pretty sure they came out before episode 3.
Yeah.
Did.
Yeah, they did.
It was insane.
I went back because now they have it on Disney Plus. So I went back and I was watching it, whenever they released it on Disney Plus. Like that show, the animations, I still love it so much, and I really wish they would bring it back because that was. But I know they probably won't because just I don't even know. It's the connection right between.
It's a lot more like disconnected from like what Star Wars is trying to be right now, like, which is fine. Like we still have it to go back and rewatch. It was really fun. I'm really excited to see what Skeleton Crew is going to be. I don't know much about it.
Yeah, is that do you know if it's live action?
I think it is from the photo that was released.
It looks
I think of Jude Law. I think it's live action.
Yeah.
I know John Watts is involved. I don't know much about it other than like it's a new thing. I just looked up. I'm looking it up right now. Center around a group of children lost in space and set in the New Republic time frame. Interesting. I did not know anything about that.
So in my mind, I'll kind of tell you what I've kind of envisioned it as.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know. Have you heard of the Star Trek show Lower Decks? The animated?
Yes, I've watched a few episodes of that. I like it.
So I feel like my hunch is it'll be kind of like a live action version of that in a way. And
Okay.
because I feel like it'll be a little bit more, because you look at who, obviously John Watts being involved, you have to get the feeling it'll be kind of more in that kind of tone of like let's say Spider-Man, right? Or
Yeah.
in that more young adult tone
Yeah, so something more like young adults,
to child.
cheesy, childish, comedic kind of thing. I could see it being like a combination of that show and maybe something like Guardians of
Rebels.
the Galaxy esque, where like they travel the galaxy, getting into all sorts of hijinks and silly scenarios.
Or even like
It
Rebels,
looks,
honestly, like in the
yeah, no, it looks very interesting, and I'm super excited to see what they do with that as well, because like I think like D23 was the first I ever heard of that. And knowing that John Watts is involved is really cool.
I think
Excited
they'd
to
announced
see.
it. I think they announced it before. I don't.
They might have, like, the name Skeleton Crew sounds familiar, but like this D23 was like the first time I ever like fully
Yeah.
knew it was like an actual thing happening.
You know when they announced it? They announced it. I'm pretty sure they announced it when they announced the Patty Jenkins Star Wars movie or whatever the hell.
Okay,
Way back then. I think that's when they first announced it. If I'm not mistaken.
that definitely tracks.
Because I remember they came out with a bunch of logos. I'm pretty sure Skeleton Crew was a part of that. I might be
Okay,
mixing them up because I feel like that was ages ago they announced that Patty Jenkins thing, which is
yeah.
never going to happen at this point. So,
Who knows? Really, it's just how Hollywood works. Like, if something is on the back burner, there's like a 50% chance it'll happen, 50% chance it won't. So
it'll go with the Ryan Johnson Star Wars trilogy.
yeah, if that ever happens either, he's busy with his mystery stuff, which I'm enjoying a lot.
But he said he wants to do it still, so we see.
Hey, who knows? Like, it's all up in the air.
But yeah,
And
Skeleton Crew looks great. I'm actually really hyped for that one. Um,
yeah.
and
Oh man.
Andor. Can you talk a little bit about Andor? I don't know if that's jumping a little bit, unless you want to say anything about
So
Skeleton
no no
Crew.
no 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 no. You are all good. So my first thought about Andor was a certain tweet that went around after I think the trailer was released, how it'll feel like a 12-hour film or something, which kind of worries me a bit, due to Disney Plus's track record when it comes to certain Marvel Disney Plus shows, and how sometimes they can be a little weary on the pacing and execution, because a lot of the Disney Plus shows are treated like expanded movies, and hopefully Andor works. Not all of the Disney Plus shows that are treated like movies work. Some do, some don't, but it's very understandable that people are already worried about it because that was said, and it
But
kind.
I think the
But yeah,
quote
go
before
on.
that kind of express, I think kind of like puts to bed some of the concerns I had, because the quote that came out before that was the two seasons are going to feel like a 24 episode spy thriller, which makes me feel like they're planning the story of the show out with two seasons in mind, not
Yeah,
one. Like most of the Marvel shows, they try to wrap the story up by the end of the season. I
yeah,
think this one they're gonna like we're giving a full 24 episodes essentially, so to feel
yeah.
like you know what I mean. Like so that makes me feel a little bit better.
That
So,
that that definitely does, because there's more episodes. I definitely like feel a wee bit better, because like obviously it'll give them time to expand on character, story, just so much. And just judging by the trailer, it looks very interesting. It obviously has that Rogue One feel, and I really enjoyed that movie. So I'm really interested to see how they expand on this character and just this piece of time, because like Star Wars recently has focused a lot on like the in
one era.
between episode 3 and 4 kind of era, and like I personally love that era, because it's like it everything is like down, like the Empire is at its A game, and like the rebels are just slowly starting to rise up, like the Jedi are all gone and stuff. So like it's very interesting. I'm I'm hyped. I'm very excited to see where they go.
I am a little bit wary about this, and just in general, I feel like as cool as that kind of time frame is, I feel like it might be getting toward the point of overuse, and I don't know how much more you can, like, especially if they want to do like an Obi-Wan season 2 or whatever. I
Yeah.
think they're getting, in my own view, I think they're getting very, very close between Solo and Rogue One and all these other things. Very, very close to the point of, can we just never talk about the period between episode 3 and 4 again? And can we just focus on like the gaps between 1 and 2? There's a big gap there that they refuse to fill. Anything pre-episode 1, anything post, the Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah, I get you. I definitely see where you're coming from because like we've already done so much in terms of that, like with so many shows and even other
And
upcoming
then the
stuff.
books and stuff too is also very heavily cover that area.
Yeah,
The comics cover that area, and then the video games cover that area. And it's like, okay, I know
I
the
totally
galaxy's
get that.
big, but like we keep going back to the same 3 planets anyways. We might as well just like if you're not gonna give us new, like completely different characters in different parts of the galaxy, like
Yeah,
Skeleton Crew, for example. If that was in that era, like in that kind of area of time, but it was
yeah.
in a completely different part of the galaxy with completely new things, I can get on board with that. But I don't want the same, like, if we're gonna keep revisiting the same like characters and the same like group of planets, like, I don't know. I think it'll get tiring.
No, I totally get that. It's like it's one of the reasons why I guess I'm really excited for stuff like Ahsoka, Mandalorian. A lot of that takes place after Return of the Jedi, and pretty much starting to seep into sequel trilogy territory, which is interesting because like that's also a huge time frame where a lot of time has passed, and a lot of it we don't really know about other than like certain like hints and references from Han and Luke about like what they did after the events of the Empire falling. And I would really like to see shows, games, and stuff seeping into other time frames. Like you said, like in between episodes 1 and 2, there's an interesting amount of time that
I
passes.
need my
Like
Qui-Gon show. Give me my Qui-Gon Jinn show.
no, yeah, and like seeing a younger Qui-Gon in the Tales of the Jedi is a really cool idea. Like I never thought we'd ever see Qui-Gon again after Obi-Wan. So seeing a younger Qui-Gon, with Dooku will be really interesting and in my opinion pretty unique because it's very different from what we've seen before. And I hope to see in like future shows and games and movies us focusing on certain eras that were never really focused on before, like in between 1 and 2, or especially like stuff prequel. Like I'm very interested to see where they go with that, and stuff like
The Old
post
Republic.
sequel.
The Old Republic, for God's sake.
Old
Please
Republic.
give me the Old
I'm. It's there's so
Republic.
much.
I
There's
need the Old
so much.
Republic.
There's so much history in Star Wars that's like not directly tied to Skywalker and the regular Skywalker saga that has a lot of potential to be really cool. And even if some of it relates to Skywalker, fine.
It doesn't
But
need to,
like,
though. I'm just saying.
no, it doesn't need to. Something like, let's say, like Mandalorian at the end of season 2, where we saw Luke show up and stuff. It was cool. Is it needed? No.
I had problems with that,
Because
though. Like, as much as I loved it, I had problems with that too. I was like, come on, really?
it's very clear that was there to be all like, hey, Luke's here. This is where he is after the events. And I don't think there's a problem with showing these certain characters, showing what they do after the events of these movies. But like, there's a whole universe of so many different stories and characters and eras that I would love to see. Like Star Wars isn't just Skywalker. And I'm glad that we're starting to slowly move into territory that's not just focused on Luke or Anakin.
Now, do you,
Um
do you like the fact that they've kind of basically said we're done with Star Wars movies for the time being and we're just going to do shows?
I'm so when that was first talked about, I thought it was a shame, because even though obviously the sequel movies weren't executed as well as they could be, I still enjoyed the hell out of them. And looking back, I think it's a much better idea that they're focusing on shows like, especially like in the animated department, something like Tales of the Jedi, I think is so cool. Something that they probably couldn't do as a live action show if they wanted, or a live action movie if they wanted. So going into animation shows like Star Wars Visions, that
was
is
awesome.
such a phenomenal idea come to life, and like it offered a lot of different creators to give their own unique take on the Star Wars universe. Just seeing what incredible new shows we got, like ever since The Mandalorian came out, people were loving it. And I think it's a good idea that they're focusing on shows right now. When they go back to movies, and I think it's very clear they will one day.
You're gonna eventually get to the point where like, hey, we can just make $2 billion by putting out a Star Wars movie.
Exactly. I'm sure they'll go back to movies one day when, they probably apologize to all the sequel actors about how that stuff went down.
I don't think it was the sequels though. I think it was more just the fact that Solo, like that they I believe personally that Solo and Rogue One both should have been TV shows, and I will stand by that forever. Those were perfect like series opportunities that they put on as movies, and especially Solo, they screwed up so much because
Solo and Rogue One, and funny enough, ironically, seemed like the perfect 6-episode format kind of thing. If they treated as a movie and expanded on it instead of just like limiting it to like 2 hours, it probably could have been so much more. Like, I still liked Rogue One, but I have to agree. I think if Rogue One was treated as like a 6-episode miniseries,
that's what they're doing with Andor. It's like exactly what they're doing with what they do with Obi-Wan, what they're doing with Andor, kind of thing.
I think like them noticing the mistakes with Solo, like that's kind of why stuff like Andor, Obi-Wan exists as shows, because it gives them the opportunity to do more with it. And I'm very pumped to see where they go with these shows, because like, wow, like they have the chance to expand on the universe and go into certain territories where they probably couldn't before. So I'm hopeful for it, but I know for a fact that they're going to go for movies again one day in the future.
I mean, I'm sure they probably have, like the Old Republic, for example. I would give them if I'm Disney, there's no way in hell I'm making that a show. That's a movie.
Oh, of course.
If I'm doing it, I would do an Old Republic trilogy, and I would make that a movie, because you also think about like what you're gonna have to do with that, and the fact that that's going to be more expensive to create. You don't want to make it a show because you don't make as much money from it if it's a show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, have you noticed any of the Star Wars shows having the Marvel pacing problems? Because I have yet to watch a Star Wars show where I'm like, that could have been better.
So when it comes to the Star Wars stuff, like mostly like Mandalorian and Obi-Wan was one of those rare examples, in my opinion, that handled the 6-episode format very well. Yeah. Because in my opinion, they did a good job with its pacing. In the beginning, kind of, in terms of the first and second episode, as soon as they got to the third episode, and I think they found a really good footing. And as for Mandalorian, they very clearly didn't treat that show like a movie. Like they treated it like a show.
It was a show. It was an episodic show, and that was
episodic show.
It worked perfectly for a bounty hunter show.
It works really well. And the only problem was, and this is coming for Boba Fett. Boba Fett, very clearly, whether it was treated as a show or a movie, could never find its footing.
I completely forgot about Boba Fett when I asked that question.
Totally fair. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about Boba Fett until we started talking about the Star Wars shows. Boba Fett had a really big problem in terms of pacing, writing, and I guess characters, because one of their episodes was literally just a Mandalorian episode, and that was like the most popular episode of the season. So
I feel like they did the wrong thing with Boba Fett. I think they just did. I don't think they knew who they did. I don't think they did Boba Fett like well. I guess like it's like a weird way to say, but like I just think they did him wrong essentially.
The concept of what they wanted to do with him in the show, have him take over Jabba's place, take over the little Tatooine town, I liked it. The problem was
The
how
back
can
to
you
tank. The back to tank is the problem.
the funny thing about that is, like, obviously it gave them an excuse to do flashbacks and stuff. I loved that. It gave us a hint at, not even a hint, it gave us a viewpoint of what happened to him after the events of episode 6. What happened to him? How did he become who he is now? I loved it. The problem is, how can you handle that and him just being on Tatooine, being a mob boss for what, 8 episodes? How many episodes was that? 8 episodes, I want to say.
I think so. I mean, I am pretty. It was something around that kind of 8. I think it was more than 6. So I think it was 8. You're right.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look it up real quick. It was 7 episodes.
Oh, 7. Okay.
7 episodes. The concept.
It was technically 6 though, because I'm not counting that Mandalorian episode.
It's that Mandalorian episode is season 3, episode 0.
Yeah. So we'll give it 6 episodes, because that's really what the story was. 6 episodes.
And it's clear that the concept didn't work for a full, quote unquote, full season. What they should have done was give it the Obi-Wan treatment. Start it off in Tatooine. Have him try and take over Jabba's business. Deal with certain scenarios and assassins and stuff that takes him to different planets that deal with his past. And I feel like that would have worked a little better. But in the end, Boba Fett was very clearly a draft for, would people like this kind of show? And in the end, they didn't.
Yeah.
I felt the ending itself was fine. Like the first couple episodes, last episode, really liked. But the show as a whole did not work for, I want to say, a majority of the people.
Like, personally, what I would have done, and I'm curious what you think about this, but what I would have done, I would have basically said, look, we're going to get, first of all, we're getting him off Tatooine. What we're going to do is we're going to have him, he can try to, take over on Tatooine. Then the Hutts come in, the bigger Hutt family comes in, and they completely obliterate him and any power he has. And he basically has to go to them, right, on Al Hutta, and he has to fight them or has to deal with them in some way. And then you can still bring in Cad Bane as like an assassin working for them, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Then you just get him off Tatooine. I'm tired of Tatooine as well, because it's like it might be the most overused cheap planet of all time, because it's so cheap to.
It's an easy planet to film on.
Yeah. The best thing about Obi-Wan, they didn't stay on Tatooine, or I would have literally lost my mind.
Which is really ironic about that, because like I remember, like, as soon as freaking Boba Fett was over and was like, oh my god, finally, no more Tatooine, and then Obi-Wan's like, hey, here's a poster of Obi-Wan, hey, look where he is, Tatooine. Everyone's like, oh my god. But then like the trailer showed him and different planets and stuff, so everyone was happy about that. Like, and that's why I think Obi-Wan was a really good show to use the 6-episode format. They didn't leave him in one singular place. They took him to different locations. They did different things with him. And that's something I hope that these future Disney Plus shows can take advantage of.
Also, technically, Boba Fett was the only live action show that didn't follow the quote unquote, I'm gonna call it the Logan trope, which is mentor, which is the main character mentors a young character and rescues them or whatever.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Because that's what Obi-Wan did, and Boba Fett didn't do that. So.
Yeah,
I was just saying, the two good shows.
It's an interesting trope to follow. Both Mandalorian and Obi-Wan did a really good job with that.
Also, Bad Batch technically is doing.
Yeah, no, yeah, Bad Batch definitely did that too with the little kid. Star Wars gave us some really cool stuff. Stuff in the Star Wars section, like minus Star Wars itself. Indiana Jones 5. Right? Is it 5?
I don't know. I'm not an
I
Indiana
can't-
Jones guy, so I'm not
No,
a
it's
good source on this.
totally fine. I can't remember.
I think it's 5. I do
I
think you're right.
think it's 5.
I do remember that being like a thing.
Yes, it is Indiana Jones 5, which is said to be the last Indiana Jones movie. Fingers crossed. I love Indiana Jones, but I'm hoping that this is the end.
It's not going to be. Well, it might be the last Harrison Ford Indiana Jones.
That is probably true. Yeah, no, Harrison Ford looks happy.
Kevin Feige looks happy apparently.
He looked happy, which makes me believe this is definitely his last role in Indiana Jones. So, but yeah, that's pretty much everything in terms of Star Wars. Excited to see where they go with all these things. You want to move on to Marvel?
I was quickly just gonna I don't know, like Ariel or the Little Mermaid, Snow White.
Okay, no, yeah. So first thing I want to talk about, Inside Out 2.
Oh yes, that one.
I'm very excited for that. I loved the first Inside Out. I thought it was very good. I'm very interested to see what they do with 2, because obviously it has a very simple premise. Riley's a teenager, new emotions, and I like, obviously that seems like the most simplest thing ever. But the best thing about Pixar is that they can take simple premises and do some wacky shit with it. So
now the question is, do we get a Toy Story 2 or do we get a Cars 2?
That's a good question.
Because the quality there, they did wacky stuff with both of those, but the quality difference is huge. So
let's hope to God it's Toy Story 2.
I don't know why, and I don't know if I should be feeling with this, but as soon as they announced it, I got Cars 2 vibes, and I don't know why, and it's scary to me, but
I think it's fair. It's fair to think that, because some of the recent sequels have not been as big as the originals. Like, for example, Finding Dory, The Incredibles 2. Mind you,
Incredibles 2 I loved.
I really enjoyed both the sequels. Are they as big as the originals? Not at all. Finding Dory will never be Finding Nemo. The Incredibles 2 will never be The Incredibles. And a part of me is okay with that.
Well, you have to be, because very few sequels can ever be better than the originals. That's just like the direct sequels. It's very rare the direct sequels are better than the originals.
Yeah, sometimes they can be, but I think it's okay when sequels don't try to outdo the first film. Yeah. Because it gives them a chance to do things at their own pace. When
you try to outdo the first film, then you try to make Mater a detective or whatever.
A secret agent.
Secret agent, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you try to outdo the original, you get Cars 2. And as funny as that whole scenario is, you don't want to be a Cars 2.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to seeing what they do with Inside Out 2. Another project I'm really excited for is Win or Lose, which is supposed to be, I think, like their first ever Pixar like show, I think. Stars Will Forte as this coach of this softball team, and each episode, like, it takes place in like the same amount of time, but it focuses on a different character and also has its own unique style. And I love that. Like, that reminds me so much of the show The After Party. Don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Never heard of
it. It's a really funny show. It's basically some guy gets murdered at a party, and each episode focuses on a suspect and a different style of film. One's a comedy, one's a musical, one's an animated, musical and shit. I'm really excited to see what Win or Lose does. Love baseball. I love feel good, family-ish kind of projects.
Oh my God, is it the one with Tiffany Haddish?
I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that
is it recent?
It's supposed to come out in fall 2023. All I know is that
the After Party.
Oh, the After Party. Yes, she is in that. She plays the main detective.
This one came in January.
No, yeah, the After Party, very good show. I recommend everybody watches that. It's has some of my favorite moments of television.
I had to add it to the list quickly before I forgot.
Definitely. But yeah, win or lose, very excited to see where they go. Is there anything you're super excited for that they showed off?
Yes. I need. Okay, I don't know if I'm excited for this or if I'm just cautiously maybe optimistic for this. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The Mufasa show.
Isn't that a movie?
Or movie, sorry. That's what I meant.
No, it's all good. Totally fair. So I know this is going to seem like a huge minority thought. I wasn't a big fan of the live action Lion
Oh, no,
King.
I wasn't either. Don't worry.
So I like the idea of a prequel. I love learning more about characters and universes that I love. I wish that it wasn't in
You
this
wish it wasn't
kind
this
of
one. You wish it wasn't
yeah.
this one. And it's okay
Yes.
that's completely fair because I could completely agree with you. Like I wish it you know which movie I need them to continue making more because I don't think they did the character justice with the first movie, Aladdin.
Fun fact, Aladdin is my favorite Disney movie. That is probably my favorite Disney film all time. Loved Aladdin. Aladdin 2 and 3 kind of existed.
What about live action Aladdin though? That's the question here.
I didn't hate it.
Like I feel like it's in the solo kind of category where it's like I want more of this because I think it could be better than it was and they didn't do it justice.
It was interesting. It some things it did I wasn't a big fan of, but overall as a film, I think it's cute. I think it does some things okay. And like if they were to say, "Hey, we're continuing this story," I would be interested in seeing where they go. I liked the guy who played Aladdin. What's the name of the actress who played Jasmine?
Naomi Scott.
I loved her. I loved her in the Power Rangers movie, and I loved her in this. So I'm interested. I love Will Smith, so I'm interested in seeing what they would do if they were to continue on something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally like that's the one I want. I don't really, I'm not really caring about Mufasa as much. I'm obviously going to watch it as a huge Lion King fan. I'm not obviously going to watch it.
I talked to someone about this, and we both agree. It's a shame that such beautiful VFX is being wasted on something like this, because like it looks really pretty,
but feel right.
It doesn't feel right. Like this kind of movie, it shouldn't exist, even though it looks really nice.
It looks like a nature documentary more than it does a Lion King movie.
Which is like the big problem because the Lion King is like a super emotional film, and it's full of so much like facial expressions from the characters that like you just don't get it in this live action one, and that's a huge shame. And there are characters that like are in that movie you would not know.
Like I would have gotten more of a character. Sonic, like kind of what they end up doing with Sonic at least. Like that's what I would have done with Lion King.
What they did with Sonic was a genius idea. Like that idea with Sonic changing how he looks saved that movie. No matter how like if the movie was the exact same how it was and they kept the original design, the movie would not at all have a sequel. It would not at all be as successful as it was.
I would have probably watched it. I would be more interested to watch it, to be honest. That's just me.
Yeah, but no, with the Lion King, it's interesting idea, but the problem is what they're doing with it, having it be all live action, super realistic. In my opinion, not a good idea.
And the other thing I want to mention just quickly is I think we can both agree we just need to keep these live action Disney princess things coming because they've been killing it with the castings, and I just need all of these because every single live action Disney princess they've done has basically been a slam dunk.
So this isn't me disagreeing. This is more of me saying I never got a full chance to really see all of these. Cinderella, I don't think I saw. Beauty and the Beast, I love Emma Watson. I felt that movie tried a little too hard.
But I don't think it was her. I think there were other things. Like,
no, I don't. I don't think it was her fault at all. Like her performance was fine. I think the movie itself, Beauty and the Beast, tried a little too hard.
Yeah.
With The Little Mermaid, I'm very interested in seeing how they do this.
I'm so excited.
I loved the original. I think the actress they have, I hope she does a very good job. I hope to God this movie does a really good job. That's pretty much all I can really say.
And Snow White too. That's the other one.
Snow White also.
Rachel Zegler is gonna be awesome, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anything else. He's gonna be awesome regardless.
It's definitely gonna be something.
I want to see what they do with the doors. There's a whole mini controversy about.
I don't know.
I forgot about Mulan. I just realized they did that.
Mulan was definitely a movie. That's all I'll say about that live action.
I forgot about that completely. I was like, oh wait, they did that one too. That's it. I don't care about Peter Pan and Wendy. I don't care about.
That's totally fine. Disney has some cool stuff coming out, but I think we're both ready to talk about
the main event.
The big boys.
We've kind of pushed it back, and we've like, now we're gonna stop burying the lead. We're gonna come out and talk about the Marvel stuff.
So, what's the first thing you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Marvels first. Just
okay.
For various reasons. Is it bad to say I might be more excited for the Marvels than any Marvel project since Infinity War?
That's totally fine. It has 3 incredibly talented actresses involved. The whole idea behind this movie having all these 3 characters
also
work
being a musical,
together.
allegedly.
I love that idea. I love musicals. The goofier, the better. So if they just make the musical numbers as ridiculously silly as they can, I'm 100% down.
I'm really just
musicals.
praying for like a Scott Pilgrim style movie.
Oh,
I would cry. Like I would cry tears of joy. I would love that so much.
That would make me really happy.
Because you could do that. You could do a wacky space adventure where basically it's like a Scott Pilgrim style thing, where it's like
I could see like a combination of like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 mixed in with like Scott Pilgrim and like a dash of like, I guess I want to say like, in a way, High School Musical, in a way where just like the silly drama of whatever shenanigans everyone gets into. And I'm so excited to see what they do with Carol, Kamala, just all of them. I'm so excited.
The one thing I've got to say about this though is I feel like I don't know why, but I feel like you have to let Star-Lord cameo if you're gonna do like dancing and singing. Like I feel like it's not fair to Star-Lord for his entire thing, and then not to have him in the movie at all, even for a cameo, feels kind of weird. But
I could see them doing something.
This man defeated his first villain with a dance battle. Like, come on, we gotta have him in. You can't just not. I don't know. I personally would find a way to include Star-Lord in this because I feel like you have to. But the power swapping thing, every time they use the powers, also seems like super awesome. Like we're just like swapping beings.
No, yeah, that's a really cool idea because it also offers very different scenarios to happen with characters interacting in different environments and such. And like, oh my gosh, like to just to hear about what stuff they could be getting up to is crazy. I need to see a trailer. I need to see a movie. I need to see all of it.
Did you watch the Phineas and Ferb Marvel crossover thing that they did?
Yes, a long time ago. That is some classic stuff right there. I loved it.
But in that, they have the power. Remember they do the power swap thing?
Yes, I do remember that.
That's my vision of this movie right now, and I really want it like badly. So
I can see that.
Because like that movie was as much as just people like to like and get annoyed with that crossover and the Star Wars crossover.
Yeah.
I love this so much. So I have a plush Perry the Platypus from that movie.
Nice.
Superhero player Perry the Platypus. So
my brother is my brother is a big Perry the Platypus fan.
So I have that somewhere, and I'm just like, I love that crossover so much.
Yeah, it's a very fun crossover.
So I mean, I need that, and also like Brie Larson and Iman Vellani and oh my god, I'm blanking. What's her name? Oh my god, I'm blanking.
Yeah, I know. There's so many names. It's hard to keep track sometimes.
Oh my god, I literally had her name in my head.
Tainoa Paris. God,
Yes.
I probably pronounced that wrong, and I'm so sorry.
Yes, that's who it is. Yeah, so those three together, that's gonna be iconic.
I'm so excited for that. Something I do want to get out of the way real quick, which is probably like one of the quickest things they talked about. Fantastic Four, and the director announced Matt Shakman. Then that's pretty much really it.
Yeah.
Nothing else talked about, which is kind of a shame. But I mean, it seems to me like they want to take their time with figuring that out, and I'm okay with that. I'm willing to just let that wait, and hope to see something about that soon.
I do have one worry, which I think we'll talk about. I want to talk about after we finish talking about the other projects, because I think there's something overall with this that I have a little bit of problem with. But
of course,
we'll continue with the projects for now. They also do you want to just quickly do Daredevil / Echo, because I don't think they really gave.
Let's talk like mostly about like the stuff that was not really shown too much, and then move on to the stuff that showed more.
Oh, Armor Wars is happening too, by the way. That we should.
Oh no! Thank God. I still remember when freaking Comic-Con happened and Armor Wars was not talked about. Everyone was worried, and then I think like the director of the show was like, "Guys, it's okay. Yeah. Show still exists."
I mean, it makes like it's still like it doesn't like it's not like it doesn't fit what Marvel wants to do, because it's still I still believe it needs to be in that kind of around that Captain America Thunderbolts kind of time.
I agree.
I think it's going to be a lead into Thunderbolts. Personally,
I think it's also a perfect continuation from stuff that was talked about in No Way Home with the Stark Tech and the abuse of Stark Tech. And I'm really hoping we get like a continuation of what Happy and also Murdoch went through into Armor Wars. Possibility it won't, but I'm excited to see what they do with that, because like just Rhodey being involved with people abusing Stark technology way after Tony's death is a really interesting concept.
Yeah. And certain characters who have not been seen in a minute.
Yeah, right?
Would love that technology. So.
Oh, yeah.
Same.
So
Sam Rockwell's of the world.
Yeah. So Daredevil.
There's a logo, and I think that's it. Did we get anything else?
I don't think so. I'm looking around. I don't think there was anything else besides just a logo.
They said they're working on it now. I think that's
no, yeah, and like that's totally fine. Like just a reminder to say, hey guys, yeah, we're working on this. It's gonna be a while till you see anything. Totally fine with me.
It's actually not that far away.
I loved the Netflix show. It looks to me like they're taking certain aspects of the Netflix show and bringing it to the MCU, which I'm totally okay with. I just hope to God the actors who played Foggy and Karen come back. That is those two are the most important characters that need to come back.
Yeah. Well,
for Daredevil. Well, yeah, but like obviously they're back, and that's really cool. Hope we get Punisher back as well. Hope we get Elektra back as well.
Okay, this might be a hot take. I'm not like, okay, Elektra being, I'm not like completely like, oh my god, Elektra has to be in this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it'd be cool, but also like, I feel like her character is still too much of an archetype. Like, if you're gonna keep Bucky running around the MCU and you're gonna have like basically Ghost and Taskmaster are also versions of the same character, I feel like maybe Elektra might be a little bit derivative.
That's totally fair. So
I'm not like, I'd be fine if they brought her back, but I'm not like, oh my god, if they don't have her in this, I'm going to be angry, because I feel like you have so many of these characters in the MCU already running around that it's kind of derivative in my opinion.
That's totally fair. That is definitely something that I think we have to talk about when we get to the Thunderbolts, when it comes to a lot of similar characters. I want to first talk about like the rest of the shows and stuff.
Leave
Echo.
Thunderbolts to the very end.
Yeah. Echo. Shame that we didn't get to see footage, but knowing that Kingpin shows up, he has a little eye patch. I'm very excited. Just hearing what they talked about, showing like the roots of her character and her family and whatnot, really interested. And like obviously like there's not much more to say other than like I'm excited. I hope the show is really good. I have faith it'll be really good because I'm pretty sure the writers of Daredevil are involved in that.
The only thing about, and also by the way, Echo, another character who is very derivative of Elektra.
So, yeah, no, that's fair.
But I think my only worry about for that show, for Echo, is if they forget that Echo is the main character of the show.
So that's a totally fair worry to have. Judging by what we've heard so far, it feels like they're definitely going to keep the focus on her. Yeah. And I like that. I hope to God that
She-Hulk has a way out of it, kind of, because the character She-Hulk is, you can kind of turn it into a joke in a way. But with Echo, you don't have that same flexibility, so you have to just be hopeful that it doesn't become because like initially I remember people were talking about it as like, this is going to be your Daredevil season 4. Was going to be Echo, right? And then obviously they announced Daredevil, but people were talking, and so I hope that maybe that was part of their reasoning, was we want this to be an Echo show, so we're gonna announce a Daredevil so people so that people know it's not the same.
Yeah, and it's totally fair to have that kind of comment about it, because you're gonna have Kingpin in it, you're gonna have Daredevil appear in it, so it's definitely yeah, of course,
make the story work. So
exactly, but I have faith that they'll make it be an Echo show through and through, and how they go with it, I assume it'll also be 6 episodes. Bleh. But if they can make it work,
in a weird way, I think Echo could work probably better than any of the other ones, because I think you have that kind of, you look like an Obi-Wan, right? Like you have that ability to tell that kind of story, because it's not a character necessarily. Like Echo's not a character where if you had, let's say, a 24 episode series where you like, I don't think people would really be invested in that, to be honest.
Echo seems like the kind of show that works as a miniseries.
Because Echo as a comic book would just be a miniseries. Like you would not get a long-term Echo comic. You would just get a miniseries leading up to events.
Yeah, there's not too much compared to the other characters, but I think they'll give us a good amount for the character, and I'm hopeful that they'll keep it mainly focused on her. Speaking of shows that can work in 6 episodes, in my opinion at least, Loki season 2.
I mean, I wanted more episodes for Loki season 1.
Totally same here.
But I get it as a 6 episode season 2, and I think it makes sense and it works. And it's not like it didn't work. So.
Yeah. It's just like, obviously for the I think it was like the second or third Disney Plus show Marvel ever made, I think it worked for what it was trying to do. And I'm really super excited what they do with Loki season 2. I loved the first season. The reveals and just what they did was really cool. And I really hope that, my only complaint about it is that they didn't expand too much on the other universes and timelines. And I really hope that season 2 does that, where obviously when it comes to the story, they also go like,
the other Lokis, basically. We need to get more of the other Lokis, and we want.
Yeah. And I hope season 2 delves a little more into that. Again, shame we couldn't see the footage, the trailer or whatever. Hopefully we see it soon. I'm
excited for that one.
Same here. Ironheart.
So we didn't see any footage. We know she's in black.
Did we? I could have sworn that there was footage.
Was there?
shown.
Did I miss
Not,
that footage?
but not a trailer. More so, I think just like footage of stuff happening. I assume like sort of like a maybe like a trailer draft or something like just like stuff happening. Um, Anthony Ramos as the
Good.
Hood. So excited! I've been waiting for them to do the Hood for so long.
It's all leak stuff. We just got a logo.
Yeah. Really, it's not too much else. Like I don't know too much about Ironheart, but I'm really happy that they're bringing her in, and I'm really excited to see where they go with the show, mixing in tech and magic. Like that's supposed to be like the big gimmick.
Ironheart has a unique opportunity, which to do something Iron Man never got the chance to do because obviously the first 3 Iron Man movies are so early on in the MCU.
Yeah.
And that is really to really actually look at the the magic, because obviously we never you think that the closest thing to magic we got in Iron Man was the Mandarin.
Yeah.
Which was not really a thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I think you get a really unique opportunity here to kind of get that real look at like what magic has evolved, because magic for a long time in the MCU was just science we didn't understand. That was the general explanation.
Yeah, it was just science, but from like a different point of view or whatever.
Or thinking further in the future, more advanced.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they like moved away from that.
Well, it made sense to ground it initially, but now the MCU is just not as grounded, so you were able to do that, and you're able to accept that. Like you can understand that Asgardian maybe isn't like initially was not considered magic. Now it probably more so is, but
yeah,
I think it's good what they've done, and I think Ironheart. I think that shows in the perfect spot to basically be in a weird way an Iron Man 4 in the best possible way.
100%, yeah.
Now, what's your view on hologram Stark possibly being a thing? Like, what do you think the limits on that should be?
I think something like a hologram Stark should be saved for something that someone like Rhodey or Happy coming across and being like a cameo-ish kind of thing. Obviously, hearing about it, I'm not too keen on the idea because someone like Stark, he's dead. Let's let him stay dead. But at the same time,
in the comic,
it's a comics thing, and like I love when comic adaptations go balls to the wall with their stuff. Something like that seems like something they could go balls to the wall with, and I'm sort of in a middle ground where it would be cool if they went
pay
with
Robert
it.
Downey Jr. if you want to do it.
Oh yeah,
that's the big thing.
Like, that is definitely the
my view
the
on
whole
it
big
personally
thing.
would be like basically make it instead of doing like an adaptive hologram, make it like just basically make it like a audio journal type thing, right? Kind of like what I think they tried to do it in one of the Superman movies. I don't remember which one because they all blend together, but I'm pretty sure they tried to do it in a Superman movie. But you basically just make it an audio journal, and you can kind of so it's kind of like you can use it long term.
Something
right?
like what happened in the first Iron Man, where he pretty much filmed all of his like suit attempts.
Yeah.
And as experiments, do something like that, where instead of it being a hologram, it's more so like Riri's
Archival
watching.
Footage. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay Robert Downey Jr. to do more stuff, which I think is the biggest barrier to any of this.
Yeah, I think I like that idea a little more because it doesn't necessarily bring him back, but it technically does, but in a way where it doesn't necessarily undermine his death. Because a hologram would pretty much just be like, it's just Stark, but as a hologram. With the archive footage, you still have him gone, but you still have who he was and showing this new generation of hero, like who this character was and how they experimented with all this tech and this iron gear. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for Riri to learn about, how to do her own thing, and she can be all like, okay, Stark did it this way, maybe I can do it my way, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. If I told you you have to choose. You have to place a bet. Either Miss Marvel or Vision shows up in Ironheart. Who do you think is more likely to show up in Ironheart?
I think Vision. I think Vision is more likely to show up. Mostly because Vision is at a point where he has no idea what his true identity is. Like he's reminded of who he is, but he doesn't actually really know. And I think he's going to be either soul searching or just trying to find a place to relax and not be bombarded by all this crazy stuff that he dealt with at the end of WandaVision. So I think Ironheart, and also like depending on what comes first, I think Ironheart comes first. He's going to show up looking for Stark.
Yeah.
And he's going to find Riri Williams. And that could probably tie in to maybe his archive footage. Some of that archive footage could be him testing out Vision and like them training and stuff. And that could sort of help with that. I don't know, but I definitely think
I
Vision
would pencil him in,
likely.
in my own opinion, and I would pencil him in probably more for Armor Wars than I would for
that
Ironheart. The reason I was thinking about Kamala showing up is because Bruno, and I'm pretty sure Bruno and Riri are going to go be at the exact same school.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Because I think Bruno's MIT, right?
I think so.
And I think Riri is in MIT, at least in the comics. I'm almost certain about that one.
Okay.
So that's why I was thinking, and it's obviously not like like in the comics, not like Riri and Kamala don't, interact. So that's what my mind. I was like, that could be cool because the Marvels would be over at this point, I think.
Yeah.
So you would. So that might be. I don't know, but that would be I think I would say Vision more for Armor Wars.
Yeah.
But Miss Marvel more for Ironheart, because I think it fits the tone of that show a little bit better.
That's
Even
totally
if it's like
fair.
a one episode, like come in, help me do some. You're visiting Bruno. Oh no, there's someone attacking. We have to, whatever.
That's totally fair. No, I definitely get that. Yeah,
I think
it could
Rhodey's
go
almost 100% showing up in Ironheart, but
it could go either way, and I'm excited. It just helps expand the MCU and just has all these really cool character interactions. I'm just excited for it all. Speaking,
still so angry we can't get Spider-Man in any of these shows. God damn it,
yeah, it's hopefully one day Sony and Marvel can work out a much bigger, better deal where like he can show up in more things. That's one of the reasons I assume why freshman year is in a cartoon and not a live action show.
The only rights Disney owns to Spider-Man are the 30-minute animated series rights.
Yeah, and I think that's why,
honestly, I'm surprised they've not tried to pitch it to Sony as like, hey, you're really thriving with this Into the Spider-Verse stuff. Why don't we swap the live action TV rights, which you aren't using anyways, by the way, for the animated live action or the animated 30-minute animated series rights, so you can use that to expand that Spider-Verse universe more, and we can use the Spider-Man rights, the live action ones, to use Spider-Man a little bit more.
That sounds like a neat idea, which unfortunately neither Sony nor Disney would be smart enough to talk about.
I think Disney. I feel like Disney's probably mentioned it at some point.
It's possible.
I think Sony has, because they'd be more, because Sony, at least from the outside perspective, because obviously I have no inside information on this, but the outside perspective makes it seem like Sony is more like, we want all the rights, as we saw when the temporary we're not bringing Spider-Man back to MCU happened. I think they're more like, we want all the rights and we want you to have none of the rights. And I think Disney has been a lot more willing to split them just because they know the best interest of their universe has Spider-Man in it. So
yeah, no, yeah, I totally get that. It's nice that they have a deal right now, but I'd love it so much more. Like if Spider-Man showed up, renewal,
so
yeah, like if fucking if Spider-Man showed up in She-Hulk, I'd love that. Like it'd be a nice little appearance for him showing up as just like merch and stuff in that the Miss Marvel first episode, at the whole like Avengers con. It'd be nice for something like that.
Or Daredevil, he should show up.
Daredevil, like, man, I really hope that they work something out soon. Like maybe like before 4 comes out, they come with a new deal or something. Who knows? Anything's possible, but unfortunately, not too much Spider-Man besides his 4th movie and probably Avengers.
And freshman year.
Yeah, that too.
And then something. But yeah.
Something I do want to talk about before we get to like some of the bigger stuff. Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, actually, I feel like that's the 3rd biggest thing they announced, right?
Probably. Like that was one of the only trailers everyone else could see.
Okay, wait. So, am I wrong to think that this might be one of the coolest things Marvel's ever done?
I think it's really freaking awesome. It feels completely different from something that they've done before. Like it's time frame different. The style that they're filming is different, and like and
apparently the Werewolf by Night looks garbage. Like looks like a.
No, yeah, he looks like a guy in a mask. So
yeah,
and like I love that. I think that's a really cool, unique idea. It gives off this like 40s and 50s cheesy horror movie feel. I love that. I love like those goofy films.
This legitimately might be the most exciting like upcoming kind of like Marvel thing in terms of just curiosity.
Something that someone else pointed out. The Werewolf by Night logo, the way that the title looks a little similar to Moon Knight, and that could just be like it's a similar logo. It could be that there could be a connection. Maybe who knows? Maybe Blade will show up. I don't know. But
in this, I don't think Blade will show up. I think this is going to be exclusive. You know, it'd be interesting, and I have this weird hunch. What if? I feel like it would be a very Marvel thing for this to end, and then you see it, and someone turns off a TV, and it reveals something.
Okay, so sort of like the entire event was
a movie.
Was a movie. Interesting. Sort of like a in universe recreation of like maybe the events that happened.
Yeah,
I could see
a movie maybe it's a movie based on real events, right?
I could see them having a character like maybe Agatha show up at some point.
I was thinking more Blade being the one to it kind of like it's this thing and then it ends and it's like Blade just turns off the TV or something and
maybe
and like he's doing research and then you think and then okay well maybe going that's what my own thing because you think you have a man thing and you have
yeah no that's definitely possible. I think there's a possibility Agatha has maybe some sort of presence because like we've seen her appear in like
TV shows
the
TV shows.
Not just that, I'm saying like her quote unquote technical first appearance was like a huge flashback with her and like this old coven and stuff, and we could see something like that maybe relate to the werewolf and maybe man thing and like the whole Bloodstone cult and whatnot. But yeah, like the trailer itself really cool. Comes out next month pretty much. October 7th.
I just had an idea. Wait, what if someone what if it ends and I know I'm ignoring the entire existence of like the content in between, but all good. The ends. But what if it's so it's like a grave, it's like a metal kind of room, right? And someone turns off the TV, and then it's Elsa Bloodstone, and they kind of just it's kind of like they're giving Elsa Bloodstone an assignment to go hunt down this werewolf.
Okay. Interesting.
Because that would spin off into another TV show / movie,
Maybe. What's really cool about the new this new stuff they're doing is you never really know where it's headed, even if it has
nothing's what it seems.
Exactly, like even something that has like kind of like a predictable kind of ending, you're still never 100% sure what you're gonna find when you're there.
WandaVision and Loki, I think, proved this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, cause like those two shows showcased like the MCU can go in any direction they want, And
Well, because you have
obviously,
yourself think it's one thing, and then you realize, wait a second, no, it isn't. It's not at all this thing.
exactly, and they could pull the rug right from over you.
Quicksilver.
Yeah. But I'm like, it's really interesting to see what they do with this, especially with like the appearance of what looks like Man-Thing. I'm super excited. Speaking of like going in any direction and never knowing where it'll fully end, Secret Invasion. That trailer was really cool. Just pointing it out for me.
Yep.
So, and this is gonna first sound like a worry, which is very understandable. They're taking the event Secret Invasion. I'm sure you've probably read it.
Yeah.
I've read it. It was freaking huge. It did
they also
something
did a good
cool.
version of it in Earth's Mightiest Heroes too.
Yes, yeah. Obviously, the event was freaking ginormous. In terms of how the show looks, it doesn't look as ginormous. And for many reasons. One, we're probably not going to see as many heroes. Two, it's a show, not a movie. They in terms of certain spectacles, they probably can't go as big. But because they're a show, 6 episodes, which could either go good or bad, but still a show, they can go in certain directions and certain avenues they probably couldn't go in a movie. With Fury being at the forefront with his partner in crime, Talos, partnering up with him and
Maria Hill and Rhodey also.
Maria Hill, Rhodey. I even saw Ross in the trailer.
Obviously, Ross is a little bit harder to do long term because.
Well, yeah, but like.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because like I wasn't expecting to see Everett Ross in the trailer. I wasn't expecting to see him there, but it'll be really interesting to see what they do with this show, who they have appear. Like there's heavy rumors some characters will appear. There's this big rumor that Daisy Johnson Quake will appear. I'd personally love that. I'm in love with Chloe Bennett. I loved her character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I want her just to come back so we know that she's like in the MCU. That's all. I just need the peace of mind that she's in the MCU.
I'd love a little more if my boy Coulson came back as well, but that's a story for another day. I'm really interested in seeing what they do with this show, what they reveal. Like they're playing this heavily as this like mysterious, super serious spy thriller. Like I haven't seen anything this really serious on like the Disney Plus side in a while, probably since maybe Loki.
In my mind, so I watched this one and Werewolf because I was out when they came out initially, and then when I got back and I saw them, I watched this one and Werewolf by Night back to back. I'm not even joking; I had the same reaction. Oh my god, this is a very different thing from what Marvel does, and it was the reaction for both of them. So, yeah.
It's really really cool to see what they do with this. It seems to me like obviously Fury coming back to Earth is sort of like I'm only here because of the Skrull kind of thing. Like judging by the conversation he had with Hill, he's been away from Earth for a long time.
I wonder why he's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? And I'm excited to find out why. I'm excited to
because we knew he was gone in Spider-Man Far From Home, right? Because that was the reveal at the end.
Yeah, that was revealed that it was just Talos. We haven't seen this Fury in probably since Captain Marvel.
Well, that was even in the past, so technically.
Yeah, and that was a flashback. So like, we haven't seen present Nick Fury, actual human Nick Fury, in a long time.
Wait, Winter Soldier? There's no way it was Winter Soldier, right?
I want to say Winter Soldier. Because, like, obviously he was in Infinity War, but he was in for like a few seconds, and that was it.
Was he in Infinity War at all?
Yes, he was at the end, the end of the movie. You know, when everyone was disappearing, and you know, he said,
"Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. You're right."
The movie censors him for him. But yeah, and like it was just for a couple of seconds. I think Winter Soldier was like the last time.
That's insane.
Which is crazy because like Winter Soldier, that's way back in Phase 2.
Although technically, if one count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think he appeared a few times.
Age of Shield, yeah, that's sort of like a here and there with
There's no way it's the Winter Soldier.
Canon Necessity.
We're missing something. I don't believe it's Winter Soldier. There's no way, right? What?
I wanna, you know what? Here, I'm gonna look up.
That's insane. If it's Winter Soldier, that's ages.
Sam Jackson movies. I'm gonna look up. God, what a handsome man.
So while you're looking that up, I'm just gonna quickly run through. I have two theories on it.
Yeah.
One, what if this is just a setup for a bigger Secret Invasion? Like, what if this is
that.
Because right now, obviously, there's no time for that with Thunderbolts and Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. But like, Secret Invasion is something we know, which happens behind the scenes. What if this isn't really more than a prequel kind of thing, where they're putting the foundational pieces for a future Skrull, like for the start of a Skrull invasion, right? With the evil, the evil side of the Skrulls.
So I could very well see them doing something like that for I want to say something post Phase 6. Like after the whole multiverse saga is over, I could see this sort of being like a prelude to something bigger, like maybe even the Kree and Skrull war.
Yeah.
And seeing where they go with that. I could definitely see that. So he did so I totally forgot that Age of Ultron takes place after Winter Soldier. He does appear in Age of Ultron.
Oh my god, it does. You're right. Oh.
But then after that, he appears in Infinity War for a few seconds and Captain Marvel, which takes place in the past. And then, Endgame, a couple of seconds, Far From Home, he was an alien. And
That's wild.
The last time we got a full human present appearance of Nick Fury was in 2015.
How is that so? It's so weird because it feels like he's always around.
Because like it was always cameos. It was always him showing up, being all like, "Hey, I'm Nick Fury." Here we go. So it'll be really cool to see him back in action and like his first ever, I want to say, major role. Like every time he's had like a main appearance in a movie, he was never the main character. But like this is his main role.
Like technically, I guess Winter Soldier was the last time he was a main, or I guess Avengers. I guess the last time he was the main character.
Well, yeah, but like it was never. He was never like the main star. Like the closest we ever got to him having like a full on major main role was Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, he was a main character. But
again, I feel like he was a little bit more of a main character in Avengers, to be honest, than in Winter Soldier. But I don't know. I just feel like because he just. I mean, maybe it's similar, but I just feel like because Avengers had so many other characters, it feels like he had less of a role. But no, either way, it's been a long time. Either it's 2012 or 20 whatever.
Yeah, either way, it's a long time ago. I'm really excited to see what they do with Secret Invasion. Just the fact that so much of it is wrapped around in mystery, it works so well with the show, and just I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't think this is the end of Secret. I think this is a setup. I don't think you can make this the only Secret Invasion because it feels too big to just do this.
I agree. I'll be disappointed if they don't do too much more of it because the Skrulls and the invasion and whatnot. There's a big opportunity for.
And to be fair, like you can do a whole series, resolve a conflict, and still leave the door open for them to
100%. I have a feeling that's what they're going to do with this show. I have a feeling they're going to have a conflict, whatever it is, we don't know. Like obviously,
I think what'll be is Nick Fury basically thinks he's driven them completely away, and then you can just say whatever, they're regrouping to come back, right? Like And I think it's more of a delay, like kind of like what they've been doing with Dormammu in a weird way, like like they keep teasing it, but it's like. They just keep pushing it out farther and farther. So
100%. Captain America, New World Order.
Oh my god, I forgot that they even talked about that.
Yo, so the leader is back after they're just bringing back all of the Incredible Hulk characters besides Betty Ross.
And also, so I have a question: how long till Ed Norton appears in another MCU movie? It has to happen at this point. You can't not do it.
I could see Edward Norton, funny enough, showing up in Secret Invasion. I could see a lot of what's his name? The actor who played Rhodey in Iron Man 1. I could see
Howard.
Terrence Howard. I could see him showing up in Secret Invasion as like, no, I'm the real Rhodey, or something like something like that, and just have these actors who previously appeared in the MCU show up and be like, no, I'm the real, character, and have them be revealed as the Skrulls, or have them being revealed as the actual character. Who knows?
I mean, what I would personally do, I would like if you're like. Is there? I don't know if there's a world where this happens, but if you do need to recast General Ross, I mean, maybe you just make Edward Norton the new General Ross. I'm sure you could do that. You could do that.
I do hope they do recast General Ross.
Because I want Red Hulk.
Same. I want to see what he does with the Thunderbolts and whatnot, which we'll get into soon. But yeah, like Captain America: New World Order, we're getting a lot of returning characters. Isaiah
Sharon
Bradley.
Carter's still chilling in that too.
Huh?
Sharon Carter's also in that, being evil or whatever.
Yeah, Sharon Carter is also a character I have a feeling we'll see show up in Secret Invasion, because like there's the heavy rumor that she's a Skrull and she was replaced, and that's why she's acting completely different.
Yeah.
And stuff. She could also not be a Skrull, and we'll see her appear in Armor Wars. Who knows? Very excited to see where these characters show up and what they do.
I'm weirdly like way too excited for a Captain America movie because I don't love Captain America as a character.
I love Captain America. I loved how they handled Sam Wilson.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see his like full film debut as Cap. The returning of all these characters, Isaiah Bradley, Joaquin Torres, who's going to be the new Falcon. The only funny thing about it is apparently, I guess Bucky is probably not going to be in it. He might be as like a cameo or maybe a small appearance. But
I believe, and the way it's set up in terms of timelines, I think this will be a direct feed into
Thunderbolts.
And I feel like the end of this movie will be the start of it.
I can see that.
Because there's something which when we talk about Thunderbolts.
No, yeah, I can 100% see that happening. Well, yeah, Thunderbolts is supposed to come out a couple of months after.
Yeah, it's directly after.
So yeah, I can 100% see that happening. But like, I'm just really excited to see that Tim Blake Nelson is back as the leader. We haven't seen him since 2008. That was when like the Incredible Hulk came out.
We might see him in She-Hulk. I don't know.
There's a possibility with She-Hulk. You never know who shows up, which is sort of like really cool, and also kind of sucks because it's like, how can you guess like who shows up? You never know.
We know Daredevil's gonna show up soon.
Well, yeah, of course. Daredevil we know is gonna show up. We unfortunately know Spider-Man's not gonna show up. So those are the only like we know for a fact are both coming and not coming. Excited to see what they do with the leader. Making him the main villain of New World Order is very interesting. And I'm interested in seeing how that could possibly tie into maybe a future Hulk movie. Whatever they're doing with Hulk in She-Hulk, with him going in that Sakaar spaceship.
Well, I don't think that's gonna tie. In my own personal opinion, I don't think that's tying it. I don't think Hulk's gonna be connected to the leader at all going forward.
Okay.
I think that they're gonna do that because I think that what they've realized, and I hope they've realized this, because I think this is the best way to do it. I honestly think in live action we've seen what works best with Hulk is just space. Space characters. I think She-Hulk actually works better with these kind of Hulk villains in the way the MCU has kind of set these two characters up. Like Hulk is just, I think, in my own opinion, clearly better when he's kind of dealing with these like more cosmic characters and on different planets and stuff. And I think the leader makes more sense on Earth. So that's at least my own view.
That's totally fair, and you never know. Anything is possible with this, which makes me love the MCU, because anything can happen. There are times where they kind of fumble the bag and where they go, but there are times where they don't. So I'm definitely excited to see what they do with this. And now
it's time.
I believe time to talk about the last thing,
the biggest thing,
which is both cool and also kind of worrying. Thunderbolts.
Okay. So, do you want to go first, or should I go first, or how do you want to do this? I've developed
You go first.
I've
It's your
developed an
video.
entire
You go
plot.
first.
I've developed an entire plot for Thunderbolts in my head. This just further
Yeah, go for it.
So I need to validate it for this
No,
idea.
yeah, take your time. Go for it. You have the stage.
So, in my mind, and this was even prior to the casting announcement, the character, the line. Do you have the lineup on you? I don't have it open right now.
Yes.
Can you read through the lineup quickly?
Okay, yeah, we have Bucky Barnes, Yelena, Red Guardian, U.S. Agent, Taskmaster, Ghost, and Valentina.
Yes. So, in my mind, now the only thing I was disappointed about was Bucky, because I'm tired of Bucky as just like a character. I feel like he had the perfect send off, and they want to ruin that by bringing it back. Fine, whatever. You do that. So, I think what they're gonna do, and I think this is I think Marvel might here be being a little bit sneaky, because Marvel likes being sneaky sometimes. I think what they're doing is they're saying this is going to be your team, but I think what they aren't saying is there isn't going to be one Thunderbolts team. There's going to be two. So what I mean by that is I think some of these characters don't fit with the others, right?
Yeah.
I think, and there's some characters that aren't even on here who I think are definitely in that movie. Zemo is the biggest one that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to see, essentially a Thunderbolts versus Masters of Evil type thing, where you have basically a Zemo-led team versus like the Valeria-led team with, Black Widow and Winter Soldier and Red Guardian, and I'm not sure about where Ghost and Taskmaster fall in that. I think some of these could be deceiving. Like, I would not be surprised if like Taskmaster is not on this team but is on the other team.
Okay.
But I think essentially it'll be two teams, and I think it'll be because in my mind this Thunderbolts movie is essentially trying to be they're both trying to basically replace the Avengers.
Yeah.
And kind of take up that void. I think the Valeria-led team will be a kind of like the government-led team in a way. Like the government is trying to have their own Avengers team.
Yeah.
And they're trying to because obviously that makes perfect sense with how the government's been portrayed and all of these things, including Falcon the Winter Soldier, Civil War, and all these things. It makes sense the government would want their own team. And then I think Zemo's going to be like, hey, why can't we have a team? Why can't we be the heroes of the day? Because they all believe they're the heroes. And I think that's where you'll get a character like an Abomination. I think the Wrecking Crew and the Leader will be involved in that as well. And I think that they'll be involved directly from Captain America, New World Order. And
interesting.
That's how I think it'll happen. I think it'll be a showdown essentially of two teams trying to fighting for the being the quote unquote Avengers of the day.
Interesting. Okay, no, I definitely get that. I've always felt, ever since looking at the roster, I have a feeling this movie, this Thunderbolts specifically, will be very, at first, focused on doing low-key, small-scale spy stuff. And a lot of people's complaints about it is literally 80% of this team is characters that do the exact same thing. And I think that's a very fair argument to make and criticism. And the only reason why I like it in a way is because I feel like they're going the small scale spy stuff what the movie will start as is we're bringing all these characters together for specific reasons. Like they all have they have specific skills. Majority of them are good at sneaking around, being stealthy, killing quietly, and that's what they are meant to do. They're meant to do something quiet. They're not meant to make loud noises. And something's clearly going to happen that'll either shake up the lineup or will blast this huge conspiracy that I believe will happen in the film where Zemo is heavily involved. Maybe even Abomination, maybe even other characters, other villains that are going to attempt to maybe even merge the Thunderbolts, and Masters of Evil. And that'll lead into the next movie, which could be titled Masters of Evil.
So the only thing about that, and I think the only issue I have with the idea of the small spy stuff is just from a marketing sense. You look at where this movie is, and it is the end of a phase movie, right? It is considered the big Avengers movie. So I think that'll be hard to do if that's going to be, because if your big Avengers movie, if half your big Avengers movie is a team doing small spy stuff, then you're like, well, why is this the big end of phase culmination of this entire thing that's been building up is going to be? It's almost like I feel like it could be a letdown of a build up in a way.
It definitely seems like, because it's the end of the phase, obviously, yeah, it's being like pushed as this like huge thing, and they could be going for sort of like a expectation subversion where it'll make you think it's going in this direction, but it's actually leading to something completely different. And maybe it could lead to sort of maybe a combination of what we're thinking, like the whole like Zemo has his own team, and it leads to this weird fight that sort of ends with both of the teams merging into one, in sort of being like, okay, at first we tried to be this like stealth operation. What if we were the new Avengers? And, certain characters from each team stay and the rest kind of do their own thing. But like Zemo, maybe US agents, maybe Taskmaster, whoever that decides
to
stay.
In my mind, this is what I have, because I think what you're picturing this as is more of a, like, the ideal version of the Suicide Squad, right? And in my mind, I'm picturing this less as that, but more of like, this is, like, because I think when I say big, I don't mean like what the first Suicide Squad did with like the Enchantress being like a super powerful whatever, right? Like, what I mean more when I say big is I mean like, this in my mind is like the culminating event of all the ground level. Like, this is the Avengers for the ground level characters, right?
Okay.
So the Armor Wars of the world, the Iron Hearts of the world, the Miss Marvels of the world, like all of these shows which have been, and maybe not Miss Marvel because that's kind of different, but the Hawkeyes of the world, like all these shows, if they need a culmination point, and it can't be a big space battle because that isn't who, even Daredevil, right? Echo, right? Like, these characters need a culmination, and it can't be in a big space battle because they don't fit, right? Like, just like how if Daredevil showed up in Infinity War, it wouldn't make sense because they don't fit with that. That's like a bigger thing than them, right? And so I think this is kind of, in my mind, like the big culmination for the street level characters, the characters who may not really show up in the next phase with the Fantastic Four and with the Kang Dynasties and Secret Wars. Like, these will be characters that will be more prominently focused on now, but won't be showing up as much then because they won't be suited for that.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that.
It's like, I don't see Zemo or Yelena's Black Widow or any of these characters really being prominent post Thunderbolts. Like,
that's totally fair.
Next, like, thing they're setting up. Like, I think it's just too cluttered.
That's totally fair. That is something that, like, we talked about real quick earlier. There's a lot of characters now who have very similar, I guess, in a way, power sets. Just not superpowered. People that are good at kicking and punching, who are good at doing agility-like stuff, and are just people.
Yeah.
Some of them have extra strength, but aren't like Hulk-like creatures. They're more
like Captain America than Hulk.
Yeah. And it's totally fair to be all like, yeah, we have a lot of these characters. We got to do something about them. I could definitely see, after Thunderbolts, a lot of these characters kind of like going away, dying, or something.
Or even going away temporarily.
Yeah. Funny enough, I can see them doubling down. I could see them taking these characters and going, we're going to see more of them. Because, in a way, they're technically easier to maneuver in terms of, like, what they do. They're all spy-related characters. They're all good at punching and kicking, but none of them really need like massive CGI or web swinging or like star bolts coming out of their eyes. They're human beings. And what they do is essentially a lot more, in a way, simpler than characters like Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Hulk. So I could see them taking the Thunderbolts and expanding on that with other characters that aren't necessarily super powered. Like maybe the Thunderbolts would be less of a Suicide Squad and more of like just a SEAL Team 6 kind of thing. And they save the Masters of Evil for the Suicide Squad like kind of thing, where it's a more diverse section of different superpowered people like Zemo, Abomination, who knows who else.
Because the only thing is, like, I feel like Marvel's going to run into a problem. And that problem is they have too many characters to have on a single team, right? Like, I think if you go back to even the first Avengers, what is the biggest meme always been? Why the hell are Hawkeye and Black Widow part of the Avengers? That has always been the biggest meme, and the biggest thing that people have always said is, why the hell is Hawkeye shooting his arrows and Black Widow trying to punch when they're fighting Loki and Thanos? Like, that's stupid. And I think Marvel essentially is going to, in my mind at least, it makes sense for them to basically say, hey, look, that was first. Now, the Avengers, the prime Avengers, if you want to call them that, are going to be more cosmic level characters, i.e. Captain Marvel, i.e. all these other kind of whatever other characters, right?
Yeah, I get you.
Then you're going to have, and I think this they'll end up saying, the TV Avengers are going to be the young Avengers, right? Because you've got already Miss Marvel, Ironheart on with their shows. Then eventually that'll become the young Avengers team, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be the TV team essentially. And then the live action team, but the more grounded level team will be the more Black Widows, the Hawkeyes, right, of the world, the Taskmasters, those characters who aren't, the A-listers necessarily, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I think you have to kind of split them like that, because you then have threats that are appropriate for them. So it's not like, hey, why is Yelena trying to fight Kang? This isn't working. You know what I mean? And when you could have somebody who would be more effective. Like, I think the best part of the Endgame was Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel having their way with Thanos and Thor.
Yeah.
That was the most fun part of the movie, not when Black Widow was trying to do, whatever, right?
No, I get you. And it's good that, in my opinion, it's good that they're expanding on the stories and the arcs that they're having for all these characters, like street level, world level, cosmic level, mystic level. Yeah. And it's very clear that these characters and the Thunderbolts are going to be a lot more inclined with the street level stuff. And it seems to me that stuff is staying in its own section, which I'm very okay with.
Comics. Like, that's what they have distinct Avenger teams in the comics for different threats. Like, you don't see and it's kind of changed recently, but like it used to be, you had your ground level Avengers, you had your cosmic Avengers, you had your young Avengers team, whatever, right? Like, they did do that because you eventually get to a point where there's too many characters, right? And you don't want to forget anybody. And especially in an event, you can, like in Kang Dynasties, for example, right? If the young Avengers have let's say a TV season before Kang Dynasties, where you kind of use Iron Lad, whatever, and build up to that whole Kang thing, you can do that while also not wasting movie time, kind of using those characters. You don't need to waste movie time with those characters. You can focus on like the A-list characters who people pay to essentially see, right? Yeah. I don't know if that's specific, but like
I totally get that, and yeah,
you're paying to see the young Avengers kind of discover who they are in Kang Dynasties.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, hey, that could happen.
Because they want it to be like the comics. That's what Kevin Feige has said, and that's what the comics do. So.
Yeah, like he wants it to be the comics, but I really hope that they do also is, in a way, do their own thing.
Yeah.
And what I love about adaptations, most of them at the very least, is that they take all this great material and they do their own thing with it. something that I'm excited for with this recent phase and saga is that they're taking all this comic stuff and they're saying there are some things we can do some really cool different stuff with. Some of it they're not doing cool stuff with. Some of it they're kind of just really either scrubbing to the side or not really expanding on what they could do.
Because like imagine if Daredevil never appears in anything else, like any movie. Like that would kind of be disappointing. Like if he's not any big Avenger movie, like that's gonna be disappointing.
Yeah, I get you. But like I still have good hope that they'll do a good job with all these characters, all these movies. Thunderbolts looks like an interesting premise that could either go in this interestingly cool idea that expands on different sides of the universe, or it could just be
Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad 1 all over again,
which
is very possible.
Basically, big bad villain, you know, and they try
it's
have them all fight it.
Either is possible.
I have a feeling Marvel's not like I feel like because it's Marvel and I have faith in them more than I do in DC in general. I feel like they know that as well, and I feel like they're not going to do that stupid thing. But
it's.
I have a little bit more faith in Marvel. That they've given me a little.
Same. More I have a lot more faith in Marvel than I do in DC when it comes to these things. But at the same time, it wouldn't be the first time that Marvel's kind of fumbled the bag with this kind of stuff. Yeah. But I still think it's important to, wait and see. And I think it's still completely legit for people to criticize this lineup, to be like, well, why this lineup? The way I see it,
I still don't believe it's a full lineup. I think there's stuff they're hiding. Because
totally fair.
Kevin Feige did say during San Diego Comic-Con, you've not seen all the characters yet that are going to be in that Thunderbolts movie.
Yeah.
But yet we've seen every single one of these characters we had seen prior to San Diego Comic-Con. So
yeah, and
there's something they're lying about something. So
I'm really excited to see what they do with all these movies. Yeah. And I hope to God that they execute them all very well. I hope that, all these films and characters and stuff have a really good just release. I'm just, there's not too much else to say other than like waiting and seeing, because that's all we can really do. Like we can theorize all day, we can assume all day that like this will be good, this will be bad. In the end, all we can do is wait.
So I have a question about theorizing quickly, and then I'll let you go.
Sure.
Well over the time that we initially set out. But...
Hey, listen, man, it's what happens when we talk about stuff we love. Time passes.
So I have a question about theorizing.
Uh-huh.
So going into this convention, this D23 convention, the rumors were wild. The speculation is everywhere.
Oh, it was big.
I could go through 3 clearly fake accounts that confirm things. Like, do you remember the Henry Cavill list?
There was a list of like all these actors that. And
this guy, the verified Twitter profile was the one who kind of like and said this.
Yeah, so I remember that.
Do you think that this, if you're looking at this, comparing it to your expectations going in, how would you grade this overall, this Marvel panel?
So, judging it as someone who was not there, who was unfortunately not able to see all the footage. But
you know what they announced? Like, they didn't announce like Henry Cavill is going to be.
Yeah, true. Whatever. So, I never had that full big expectation kind of thing. Obviously, I saw the rumors. Some of it seemed cool. Some of it didn't seem too believable. But I never fully hinged my expectations on all of those things. Heck, I didn't even know that apparently, what's his name, said, D23 is going to be bigger than Comic-Con. There was that article that came out a couple of days before D23. I didn't even know about that. I would have to grade this, I want to say B-. I liked it, but it's very clear that there was more that could be shown. To someone like me, who's on the outside, who was unfortunately not there. If I was there and I saw all the footage, I probably would rate it higher. But I want to say B-, maybe C+. The stuff that I got to see was cool. I wish I saw more. I'm okay with them not revealing more, Because one of the biggest criticisms of Comic-Con when they revealed, Phase 5 and 6 was they're showing too much. They're talking about so many things. They got to slow down. And I agree with that. I think it is a huge mistake to end the multiverse saga in 2025. I think they should expand that so much more. Obviously, nothing I can do about it, whatever. That is a big, heavy criticism of mine. That being said, I like that they spent the entire showcase showing new footage of upcoming stuff that we already know about, and pretty much just saying, hey, yeah, we're working on all these things that you already know about. We'll show a new thing, Daredevil. We talked about that. We didn't do anything. We'll show you a logo. We're working on it. I like that so much more because it, in my opinion, it shows that they're focusing on these things and that's it. They'll work on the new stuff when they work on it. The Fantastic Four. Would a casting announcement be cool? It probably would have been one of the biggest things since probably Infinity War was announced. But them just saying we have a director.
Spider-Man in the MCU.
That too. We have a director. That's all we have right now. I like that.
Well, we replaced the director we already had.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing with this because John Watts obviously was director.
Yeah.
And then he went off to do Star Wars and whatever, and they replaced him. And I think the reason that didn't fall as nicely is because of that. The weirdest thing for me, honestly, is just they didn't mention Guardians at all.
That's totally fine. Yeah, they didn't mention that at all either.
That confused me a little bit, but
I think it was mostly just like they had more stuff to show for the stuff that they already showed.
And I think Guardians is filmed, so that's why I was kind of confused.
Yeah, so D23, the way I see it, was just a Comic-Con Part 2, an extended Comic-Con where all this stuff we revealed, we're going to show a little more of it. Some of it, not so much. Stuff like Thunderbolts, we're going to show a lined up. Daredevil, here's a logo. Echo, here's some footage. Ironheart, here's some footage. Where, I know we talked about this. Magic and Tech, they expanded on that, saying, yeah, we're really going to focus on that with this show. Who shows up? You never know. Secret Invasion, here's finally a trailer. Werewolf by Night, here's finally a trailer. It's a shame. Like, obviously, the reason why the first Ant-Man Quantumania trailer wasn't shown at first is because VFX wasn't fully finished in that when it came to the Comic-Con trailer. That's fine. They showed more footage. Didn't show anything with that.
It's also I feel like it's too early to show any of
that. That's also very possible. Like being too early to show certain things, totally fine. I would have liked it more if they showed sort of like an official trailer for Guardians. But
I think what they're worried about, honestly, and I'm worried about this too. I'm so scared Black Panther is going to get lost in the shuffle. I'm so worried that.
That's another thing. That's another thing that we unfortunately forgot to talk about earlier. But because there really wasn't much else to say other than they showed more footage.
They said they're still editing.
That was really it. And that's a shame. Again, goes back to the whole. I wish that they did a digital ticket. At the very least, we could see it. We could judge it more than just someone saying, "Hey, this footage, Shuri dabbed with Riri or whatever."
Yeah,
it's cool to hear about that, but I'd like to see it.
Although I think they saw it in the trailer too. I'm pretty sure that happened.
Yeah, I think they showed like another trailer or more footage of stuff like that.
I feel like I'm just scared. I think they're scared of showing things to the public because I think they do want to make sure Black Panther doesn't, because it is coming out this year, right? It is the last movie of the year, and I think they're scared. And I completely understand why they're scared of this, but I think they're worried. Does this movie just get completely lost in the shuffle? And if we announce too many more projects, if we show a bunch of public trailers, does Black Panther suffer? Because, without Chadwick Boseman obviously, being in the movie. I think
that's a fair statement to make.
We've seen it happen before with Miss Marvel, although to no fault of its own, got trampled by Obi-Wan. Anything around Daredevil will get trampled by Daredevil. Like, these are just like I think they're so scared if they show a Guardians or even a Marvel's trailer, you lose. But I think you feel like you lose Black Panther in a way.
That's completely fair. I have a feeling Wakanda Forever will do really fine. The response to the first trailer was incredible. It is still being said to be one of the best trailers anyone has ever seen in terms of like the MCU.
Yeah.
I don't want to say ever because there's probably been better trailers,
Infinity
but
War.
like
I still that first Infinity War trailer is still like I didn't even believe what I was watching because it was just so crazy.
same.
That'll be for me.
But like the first Wakanda Forever trailer was incredible.
Yeah.
So I have faith that at the very least, Wakanda Forever is safe in its section because of Chadwick Boseman, because of how hard the directors and everyone is working on it.
But I think the question just becomes: is that $1 billion movie or a 1.5 like, or even is it a $700 million or is it $1 billion movie? Like I think those are the margins you're looking at, right? Like you're not.
Yeah, that's an important question to ask in business. Like, is this movie going to end up getting $1 billion, or is it just going to get just under?
Because without Chadwick Boseman, it could just be that movie. Because especially if everyone's focused on, hey, in February we got Marvels or whatever, or Ant-Man is coming at this point, or you're gonna have all these shows. Like I feel like that could be the difference between maybe not us, right? Maybe not a lot of people, but maybe that's something which is the difference between it being $1 billion movie and it being a 500, 600, $700 million movie. So.
And that sort of stems back to my worry that they're releasing so much in a short amount of time. I still don't like that. A lot of people agree that it's a bad idea to release all this stuff in a short amount of time. That being said, I think regardless of whether it makes $1 billion or just barely under, I think Wakanda Forever is in a good state.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm just saying. I think that's what they're thinking. I think they're worried about, like, is this going to be, considering how successful Black Panther 1 is, like, because if Black Panther 2 does not hit $1 billion, it will be viewed widely, and maybe not justifiably, but it will be widely viewed as a failure.
Yes,
right?
It'll be viewed as a failure regardless of how well it does in terms of reviews. If it doesn't make $1 billion, there will be people out there that'll say this movie sucked. It didn't make $1 billion. Why didn't this make $1 billion?
But I think even from the business perspective, like it's different if it's Ant-Man, right? Where it's like, or Thor, where it's like, you know what? Look at those characters, or Guardians. We understand it. Black Panther really, like, it should be making consistently be basically at $1 billion. And so I think that's good. I think they're going to look at it as a failure more so than even just the public, right? Like they're like, this was not how. And I think they're kind of lucky that DC literally ran out of money to put out movies, so they have no competition for the rest of the year. But
so I guess it all boils down to like the reaction and how much it'll make. I have faith in it to do well regardless.
I do think after Black Panther,
I can definitely understand. I can understand your viewpoint of them being worried because there's so much coming out around that. Black Panther is not. It's not Ant-Man Quantumania where it builds up Kang or Guardians where it ends the entire Guardians trilogy that was built up on its own. So it has its own station.
We don't know what it's doing.
Yeah, I personally believe it'll do well in where it is and what it's trying to do. I think it'll hit the emotions. It'll give everyone, I guess.
But what is
I guess in a way to put it,
you have to define. Like the definition of well is the thing, right? Like are you saying it's gonna hit? Like it's a lock for $1 billion, or as you get like, because if it comes out in November, Avatar comes out in December, does it have enough of a runway to make $1 billion before Avatar?
I think it has the ability to. I think it has the potential to be successful. Whether it ends up hitting $1 billion, I think it could. We'll have to wait and see. It's just it's in an interesting position because you see the trailer, you hear about it, and you're like, this could be potentially one of the best.
Yeah.
In terms of like visually, in terms of thematically, the movie has a big stance of closure of what could be with all these characters.
But sometimes the best doesn't make the most money.
Exactly. And so sometimes something really good could not make enough.
And I think again the biggest thing is literally, I'm not even joking, October, Black Adam, which is going to make money just because The Rock will basically buy every ticket in every theater if he has to. Like the way
not even that. I think that movie looks fine.
Yeah.
How much it'll make, I have no idea. I think it'll make a lot because The Rock is involved, and The Rock is he's a big crowd pleaser.
He will literally shake everybody's hand in the entire world to get them to watch his movie. So he walked into a test screening to me.
He's also, in my opinion, a charismatic guy. Yeah. Not in terms of like a lot of his recent acting roles has been just The Rock. I just mean like him as a person. I think he's very charismatic. I think he's a movie star. If there was a video of him just saying, "Hey, watch my movie," and he smiles, that would generate a bunch of ticket sales. But
and in December you have Avatar. Right, so Black Widow's a very tight window.
It's the Black Panther is in this middle ground where it comes after Black Adam, but it also comes before Avatar. It could either be really good, or it could end up being stuck in an unfortunate position. I have faith it'll do well.
My hunch, at least, is it'll end up being one of those movies where when we go back and we look at it, we're like, this is one of the best movies the MCU has ever made, but unfortunately, it didn't achieve the theatrical box office success that it should have. And you see that. I mean, Iron Man 3 was so great. It hit $1 billion. Iron Man 1, didn't, obviously, it was the start of the MCU. You've seen it with, like, I can't even remember any other ones off the top of my head. Doctor Strange, I think, that did hit $1 billion. I think that was one of the better MCU movies in my own opinion. But I think it'll be in that weird middle ground where it's like, honestly, if you want DC, Shazam, like, I think Shazam, technically speaking, underperformed, but it was one of the best DC movies they've ever made. So,
Yeah.
That's what I feel. I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong because I do want Black Panther to be successful.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like I said before, we can speculate and assume all day. In the end, the most we can really do is wait and see.
Yeah. And with that, unless you have anything else to add?
No, I think I'm good.
Thank you so much for coming on, and I was.
Thank you for having me on, man. It was an honor.
And everyone's gonna check you out. I put the link to your channel and your Twitter. Their Twitter handle is under.
Heck yeah!
On the screen, the link to your YouTube channel is in.
I love to shamelessly plug. Follow my Twitter. Subscribe to my YouTube. I do goofy stuff all the time.
You do, and it's great. Link is in the top of the screen. There's links somewhere, and it's very like there's links somewhere. Everywhere. It'll be everywhere, and obviously, if you your Twitter will be on the screen. So people all your links are also.
Thank you so much, man. I had a blast just talking about movies and shows and just how silly Disney is.
Disney's awesome. I love Disney. We're gonna have to do this again though, for sure.
Heck yeah, of course.
And thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow Comic Boys on social media, and follow. Just go find all the links and do all that stuff.
Click all the links. Click all the follows.
Exactly. And thank you all for watching.